Hi guys, how's it going? Brian from Brian Boas here. After much waiting, my first litter of 2020 is finally here. My Hog Island female just gave birth, and I can see some babies in her cage, and she appears to be all done giving birth. So now I'm going to go check out the babies, and I want to show you how I take the babies out and separate the mother, how I clean up the mother, and how I set the babies up in their own tub. So let's take a quick look and check out these new baby Hog Island Boas. So I can see some baby boas as well as some slugs through the glass. And the female has stopped giving birth, and she actually struck at me through the glass. Usually they get kind of quiet right after giving birth, but then they can get defensive in defending their babies. So the first thing to do is just to carefully remove this female hopefully without getting bit, and give her a soak in some lukewarm water, and then I can take stock of the babies. So I just put the female in a tub of lukewarm water and give her a soak and clean her up a bit, get the smell of the babies off of her, and that should make her less aggressive. Now I'm going to have a look at the babies. You can see I threw a bunch more newspaper just to act as kind of a nest for the mother. There's a nice looking active one right there. There's a couple that are still in their amniotic sacs. We'll just let them come out on their own. You can see the head is kind of poking through. You can also see these slugs, these unfertilized ova, which is unfortunate to see. Prefer to not see these at all. Let's see. Have any more babies? Something under there. Oh, there's a baby. So it looks like we got 4 babies and 4 or 5 of these slugs. Wish this was a baby rather than a slug, but you know what? Sometimes this just happens. The male that I bred her to actually has bred for 4 years in a row. And last year he had 13 babies with another female. Maybe he's just getting tired of breeding. This particular female had, I believe, 9 babies 2 years ago with no slugs. This year it looks like we got 4 babies and 5 or 6 slugs, so about the same number. But unfortunately, about half of them didn't get fertilized. But these babies look quite nice. I always love seeing these little beautiful babies. So now I'm going to just gently remove them, and I'm going to put them into a tub with just paper towels as a substrate. Here's a quick look at the babies. You can see the 3 of them are moving all over the place. This one right here in the middle is still in his amniotic sac. So I just actually removed some of the newspaper from the mother's enclosure. I don't want to damage any of the blood vessels. And it looks like he's pushing his nose out. You can see that through the amniotic sac. So I'm just going to let him come out on his own. Sometimes if the amniotic sac is closed and they can't get out, I'll kind of gently poke a little hole in there. But in this case, he should be able to come out on his own. And you always want to leave as much of the amniotic sac and the umbilical cord as possible. These guys all look full term, and the female was actually right at her due date. So they are nicely developed. Sometimes they still have their yolk sacs attached if they're born a little bit prematurely, and it's important to let them absorb that yolk. But these guys look pretty good, and you can see they if they have their yolk sac attached, usually they have these yolk bellies that their abdomen will be really wide and distended, but these guys look pretty good. So got 4 nice Hog Island babies here. So I wanted to show you these slugs again, and these are kind of the bane of every boa breeder's existence. But they're unfertilized ova, and it looks like there's 6 of them. Most of them have this nice kind of golden color. I noticed this one kind of looks brownish, and I'm wondering if this is possibly one that was retained from her breeding 2 years ago. She may have been carrying this around for the last 2 years and finally passed it, since it has that old kind of shriveled appearance. But it's not entirely clear what causes these. I mean, they're most likely due to the fertility issues with the male, and wish they were babies, but you know, we got 4 good ones, so yeah, got to be happy with these beautiful baby boas. So right now I'm going to get rid of these slugs. I'll probably put them in my garden as compost and for fertilizer, and then I'm gonna thoroughly spray out this enclosure for the female, get rid of any smell of these babies, and then once she's done soaking, I'm going to put her back in the clean enclosure. So I went ahead and gave her cage a thorough cleaning and sprayed it down. Wanted to get rid of any of the smell of the babies because that's what kind of makes them aggressive. And she's still soaking, but I'm going to go grab her real quick and put her back in her clean enclosure. So she's a lot lighter and thinner than she was before she had the babies. It's always amazing how much weight they put into these babies. There she goes. Okay, we'll just let her rest, and I'm gonna go ahead and feed her a slightly smaller than normal rodent, which for her will be a medium-sized rodent. Give that to her tomorrow, then wait about a week and give her a large rodent. But just gonna let her rest now since she's been through a lot today. So it's been a few hours since I removed the babies. Just went to check on them. And you can see that 4th baby that was in the amniotic sac has emerged fully. So now I'm just going to clean up all the gunk that's left over. When you have babies that are born and they have lots of afterbirth, and you put them into a nice warm tub, it starts to get pretty stinky pretty fast. So typically I'm cleaning the paper towels about twice a day after the babies are first born. So let's I'll just get these old paper towels out. Now I've got some fresh paper towels on the bottom of this tub, and I threw a few more in crumpled up just to give them some place to hide. Usually they just kind of pile up in a corner and stay nice and warm, and they kind of enjoy each other's company for the first few days. So I have them in this tub. There's a heat mat that's set to maintain a hot spot of about 90 degrees. And I'm going to go ahead and give them a spray down with some water, keep them nice and moist. And I'll keep them like this for about a week or so before separating them into their individual housing. So they look like they're all nice and healthy and active, beautiful little baby Hog Island boas. Every year I breed boas. It seems to take forever to go from pairing up my breeders to getting gravid females to finally getting the babies. And I think maybe this year it just seemed to take even longer because of all the crazy stuff that's going on in the world right now. But I wanted to end just by showing you some, these are actually 2-year-old full siblings of the babies that were just born with, with the same mother and father. These are pure Sears line. The breeders came from Vin Russo, so they're completely pure, 100% Hog Island boas. And just beautiful, beautiful animals. So this is a male that I held back. This guy is 2 years old and he's about 3 feet long. And he just has these beautiful pink and orange colors in his side. You can see the beautiful speckling and lots of peachy and pinkish and, just lots of beautiful colors. They also have a tint of green to them if you look closely. But they're definitely one of my favorite locality boas, just very beautiful animals. You can see all of the beautiful light colors that he has. I actually held back 3 of them from this litter that I had back in 2018, this male and 2 females. Hopefully these guys will be ready to pair up in probably about another 3 years or so. Let me grab one of the females to show you. And here's a female from that litter, a Sears line Hog Island Boa, also 3 years old and about 3 feet long. And like the male I just showed you, she's got a lot of beautiful colors, a lot of shades of pink and orange and some green in there. Just a really beautiful animal. And this shows you what those babies that were just born should look like in about 2 years. And you know, she'll probably get to be about another, I don't know, total of maybe 5 feet or so. It's a pretty typical adult size for a female. The males are a little smaller. The next thing to do with my babies is get them feeding. These guys can be somewhat tricky to get feeding. Usually about half of them will eat right off the bat on a live fuzzy. And then some of the other ones I need to assist feed a mouse tail for a few weeks or a couple months before they finally end up eating. I've tried a lot of tricks to get them to eat, with scenting them with lizard parts and bird parts, things like that. And I haven't had a lot of luck with that in the past, but I'll have to try some new tricks this year with my babies in case I have any difficult feeders. But stay tuned. In the future, I'm going to be discussing how my baby hogs are doing and when they'll be available. I imagine it's probably going to be about another month and a half or 2 months before those are ready to go, in case you're interested. So please stay tuned. Thanks for tuning in. I hope this episode was somewhat helpful for you. Please let me know if you have any questions or comments, and enjoy your boas.